I woke up the next morning and I was like, I think I got a tattoo. That's right. And then I was like dreading taking my shirt off to see what was on my arm. One of them shots lands, it's going to put you away, 100%. I can do it all. I have to be able to do it all because look at where I train, look at who I'm sharing the mats with. And he just had an answer for everything. It is when I get a hold of them and then I realize how strong I am. Then I realize how big I am, how heavy I am, how hard I am to deal with. Josh Coolabell on the mat, Jamie Malaki, obviously Volko, my other teammate Colby Thickness, Blake Donnelly. Mohammod, you said no one wanted to fight you. It was always going to be me that was going to step up. So yeah, let's go do it. Let's go show everyone why we're the top featherweights in the country, and let's go see who deserves to fight for this featherweight title.
Bang, welcome back to the #1 podcast in the world. Thank you guys for smashing the subscribe button. It goes a long way. It helps distribute our message. I'm joined here today with Justin Van Heerden, a professional mixed martial artist who currently has a 9-5 record as a featherweight and has a huge card coming up on Eternal very, very soon.
Yep. So we're back in a co-main event slot on Eternal, July 16th. Arguably the biggest sort of card for the year so far, and for sure for me, the biggest fight so far in my career.
A stacked card.
Massive card.
A stacked card.
Like, the only way that they could make this card better at this point is if by some divine intervention, Alavi and myself end up fighting for a featherweight title. Potentially.
Wouldn't you love that?
I mean, I'm not going to say no if they want to do that.
Of course not.
Especially not, on this sort of card, live on UFC Fight Pass, it's going to be mental.
I know. We've got Giuseppe versus Caleb Rideout, you versus Alavi, Pereira versus Philip, old mate named Stefan here. Big shout out from Vahud. July 16th, it's kind of the place to be, isn't it?
Yeah, they've done well to mash this card. I mean, if just looking at that, like the fights that you have just there, even on the undercard, like I'm going to be biased because obviously, previously being based in Queensland, there's a few guys that I'm sort of familiar with on the card and, have done some sort of training with and work with. So I'm going to be like looking at those fights going, okay, these are going to be standout fights.
Yeah.
And any number of those fights could be like fight of the night and potentially be some of the best fights we've ever seen. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to watching you fight. So you've got an interesting journey in that of yourself. You're native to Johannesburg, South Africa, made the jump over here to Australia, and then have moved around a fair bit, from what I understand.
Yeah. No, I've been fortunate to kind of see a bit of Australia and then obviously the world.
Yeah. So why don't we start from the beginning? How did we end up here on a co-main event for July 16th at Eternal?
All right. So, like from the way beginning, is that
as far back as you'd like to go? Right. Straight out the womb.
Straight out the womb. No, well, not quite straight out the womb, but maybe I think I was like 4 years old when I started wrestling. So grew up wrestling, gymnastics, and that was kind of the two foundation sort of sports I started with. And then, competed, because in South Africa, it's similar to America, like wrestling is a staple sport,
right,
all the way through school, high school, university, the avenues are there. So, yeah, started with wrestling, was competing all the time. And then, sort of as I got older, I kind of branched into some other sports like normal team sports, rugby union, rugby league, all that sort of stuff, like throughout that time. Briefly lived in America. We moved to America, was on scholarship while I was there, like even from, I think it was like, how old was I? Already like on a scholarship track when I was like a young kid for wrestling and and stuff like that. So yeah, we were based there. We ended up moving back to South Africa because my grandmother, my mum's mum at the time, she got real sick. So, family kind of made the decision to move back. We went back to South Africa for a few years.
How old were you when you went over to the States?
I think I was like probably 10 or 11.
Wow.
Yeah.
11 years old to get a scholarship to go to the States for wrestling.
So, yeah, I was very fortunate. And I was competing in gymnastics too. So I was doing, doing gymnastics as well. So it was kind of, in my mind at the time, even as a young kid, and I think my parents kind of were pretty well established with the possibilities, it was like either one of those sports is an Olympic sport. So you could potentially branch out in either one of those, go to the Olympics potentially, which would be like a sick achievement just in itself. And then if you compete, medal at an Olympics in either sport, you're kind of set after that for whatever you want to do, whether you want to go into like the coaching side of things or whatever the case is, you can have those avenues. So even at that young age, in my mind, I was kind of like, okay, well, that's the focus. let's go to the Olympics.
So athleticism was always kind of your domain. Like it was always going to be some kind of sport. It was always going to be some kind of physical achievement.
Yeah, 100%. I think even if I didn't end up in like fighting MMA and branching into sort of the combat sports side of things, there was always going to be sports was always going to be a focus. As soon as we moved to Australia, I think I moved here, might have been 2009, 2010 that we moved to Australia. As soon as I arrived in Australia, it was pretty much like sport. Sport was sort of the main focus again. Obviously, trying to find. I was competing in so many different sports, but the wrestling side of things, that kind of the brakes pumped on that a little bit, because obviously wrestling in Australia is not as prominent as it is in like America or South Africa. So I kind of took a step back from that, and then was just competing in all sorts of different sport: basketball, rugby league, hockey, swimming, athletics. Like
you just couldn't sit still.
Nah, yeah. If you name it, I was competing in it actively and sort of enjoying myself. So, and then started obviously getting more and more involved in sort of watching MMA and following the sport. Started sort of getting interested in jiu-jitsu as well. And then 2013, I think it was, 2013, 2014, I started training a bit of jiu-jitsu. Just walked in, I was like, I remember just
So
watching.
you would have been like, what, 17, 18 at the time?
Around that, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe even like 19.
Right.
Yeah. And then I was kind of like watching, I just remember I was watching like a UFC event, and I just remember sort of watching a fight, seeing a guy within like the first 2 minutes get a hold of someone shoot a big double leg. I was like, oh, like there's the wrestling side of things. He took this guy down, choked him out in like 2 minutes, and I was like, oh wow. So I jumped on Google, and I was like, let's see if there's any like sort of jiu-jitsu gyms or MMA gyms near where I was. At the time, I was based in North Queensland, in Mackay, in North Queensland.
So it was just watching one submission that was your first exposure to mixed martial arts, and
I'd like kind of loosely watched it, but not to the point where I think that there was a scenario there with where like something like that stuck out, and for some reason I just got this urge to be like, well, maybe I can just do that. And in my mind at the time, I was even thinking like, maybe I'll just give this jiu-jitsu thing a go. I have the wrestling background. I'm like, I'm sure it's going to translate.
Which is such a huge advantage for fighters to have like a strong foundation of wrestling. Like, damn.
So I took that, and I was like, okay, let's just jump in to the jiu-jitsu gym and just see what it's like, see if it's something that I want to do. And then at that time, I wasn't even thinking about competing or anything, but in my mind, I was like, okay, if I do this jiu-jitsu thing and it's cool and I like it and I do start competing, it's going to benefit me, because I already, I've been competing in sport my whole life. So I knew that there was things that were going to be able to translate, and obviously the wrestling was going to translate for jiu-jitsu. So I was kind of like, okay, that was my focus. So I started off just focusing on jiu-jitsu. I was probably doing that for like maybe 3-4 months. Started investing in MMA a bit more, like actually getting super invested into the sport.
Yeah.
Really interested in it. And then I kind of got obsessed with it. I was training for about 6 months. My coach at the time, David Garnham, who was my first coach in MMA, he was actually on holidays in Fiji at the time. It was like March 2014. And then they had like a fight show coming up in Brisbane. There was like a guy pulled out or something like that. And he just like, I remember he called me on like the Sunday and was like, do you want to fight next weekend? Do you want to have like your first MMA fight? And I was like, yeah, bet, let's do it. And then, so yeah, he was like, cool, set it all up.
On 1 week's notice?
Yeah, 1 week's notice.
That's fucking crazy.
I made my MMA debut. He got sick.
What was the promotion?
Aftershock MMA.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So he got sick, he pretty much got back from Fiji on like the Tuesday of fight week, and he was like real sick. He had like a stomach bug, like it was like real sick. Like he was like touch and go for a bit, where they were like, oh, we don't know what's going to happen. So he couldn't come with me to Brisbane to be there for my fight. So at the time, he arranged for two other guys that were involved at the sport at the time, to just be there, just so I could have someone to corner me. Pretty much just wrap my hands and hold a bucket at that point.
Yeah.
Because it was my debut.
At this point of time, because you've spoken a bit about wrestling and about jiu-jitsu, but you haven't mentioned boxing or kickboxing or Muay Thai.
Yeah. It was like at that point, I'd done maybe in that 6 month time frame, I'd probably done like maybe I was probably doing like maybe 2 sessions a week of like some kickboxing, but not to any sort of standard of where I'm at now.
So the hands weren't there.
The striking was pretty much non-existent. Damn. So
that's ballsy.
Yeah. So I got in there, fought this guy. He'd obviously, been preparing for a fight. His opponent fell through. Yeah, so, and then the whole process was so crazy. I mean, obviously, I competed in sport my whole life, but competing in MMA for the first time, there was, the nerves were there, the adrenaline dump was there.
Yeah.
It was just that whole process was just so crazy.
Why don't you explain adrenaline dump to people who want to wear?
Okay, so the best way I can sort of put it is you get like a rush of endorphins that sort of just go through your whole body. And then it's almost like a very heavy feeling in your arms and legs and even in your lungs and everything. Like everything, it's almost like someone just took like a big cement boulder and just put it on top of you. And that's what you sort of feel like. You just feel completely just like you want to do something, like you want to move, but you can't. Like your brain is like trying to tell your body what to do. Your body's just like not responding.
And that can happen at any point in time during a fight.
And that can happen, you see that sometimes happening like to guys that are experienced and they've had like heaps of fights every now and then, they get like, you see it happen sometimes where world-class people get in there, they might be fighting for their first ever sort of world title and then they get an adrenaline dump. And then you kind of just see it and it's like, because people, I guess from an outsider's point of view, if you're ever watching a fight and you kind of see one fighter all of a sudden just kind of go on autopilot and kind of look like they're freezing a bit or something like that.
Almost like they're fading out.
That could potentially be what is happening in that. It's such a weird sort of feeling because you just feel so like helpless. Like you know what you want to do, your body's capable of doing it, but your body just doesn't respond. And for that,
do you think that's like a mind process? Like, do you think it's just a thing of getting caught up in the moment and
100%?
Yeah, it's psychological.
I mean, I anticipated that there was going to be nerves and things like that, being that it was going to be my first sort of fight, and it's a crazy experience. Like you're getting in there and punching on with someone, you're kind of like, all right.
Well, not only punching on, taking them to the ground and choking them out and kicking their legs and throwing knees at I wish I could really explain to people and really got them to understand how like dangerous this sport really fucking is. And as I was saying to you a little bit off air, is that it wasn't until I actually stepped into a gym and did a couple of sparring sessions and got lit up and got my first black eye and hurt my wrist throwing a punch and had all those experiences that I couldn't really appreciate what the sport actually is. But when you're talking about elite athletes that spend their entire calendar year training so that they can pummel your face in, and you have to go up against that, like experiences like adrenaline dump just makes so much sense. And then you amplify that with 20,000 people standing around you watching, cameras, lights, it's on, it's showtime.
That's it. Like the process of just having that sort of happen, and then you've got all the eyeballs there, there's people watching you, so it's all on the line. So that all happened to me and I was like, what is going on? How am I going to cope with this? So the first round, I pretty much got the shit beat out of me. Like it was rough. And then the second round, I kind of, the adrenaline dump kind of subsided a little bit, found my feet a little bit, was a bit better in the second round, but definitely got edged out in that round as well. The guy I was fighting at the time, what was his name? Steven Varga, the guy I fought in my debut. And then he took me down in the second round and kind of got some control on the top. And there was a brief moment where he kind of got on top of me in like a mount position, and I was just like, oh no, like this could be bad. This could be real bad.
That's interesting. I would assume that the second that you get taken to the ground, you're like, yes, perfect. This is exactly where I want to be.
There was that, but also there was like, I think at the same time, there's that moment where you're like, uh-oh, like this is like the last place you want to be in this sort of scenario. So then I came out for the third round. I knew I was 2 rounds down. I knew I like had to get a finish to win. And I was just thinking like, okay, that's what I got to do. So there was a scramble in the third round. He went for a takedown. I kind of defended it. We split apart, traded on the feet a bit. He went for another takedown. And in my head, I was just kind of like, all right, well, it was sort of automatic. My body kind of just went through the motions on its own, and I ended up throwing up a triangle choke. I kind of like, I wouldn't say I pulled guard. The way the scramble happened, I kind of ended up on my back briefly, and I threw up a triangle, was able to reverse the position. I ended up on top of him in like a mounted triangle, and just he ended up tapping, caught him in a triangle, and it was just a weird scenario because like he tapped from the triangle because he was it was tight, and as I let go, he passed out.
Right.
So he was like unconscious, and then it was just this surreal feeling of like I just had this crazy experience. Just had my first fight. I just won after being pretty well down, 2 rounds down, and then he was like unconscious, and I just remember this whole crazy process. But then there was like this distinct moment where I was just kind of like I like stood with my back against like the cage, just looking at the whole scenario in front of me, and I was just like, yeah, for sure, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. And especially after I felt that, like you get the feeling of winning.
Yeah.
And I mean, people talk about it all the time. Like in this sport, the peaks and valleys are so drastic that those feelings of when you win, and especially in like high stakes fights, and something like that. It's my first ever fight. I'd only been training for 6 months. I was 2 rounds down. I didn't have my coach with me. To still then come.
Friends and family?
Yeah, my brother and my dad were down there with me, like to watch the fight and that.
Does that add a bit more pressure to the situation?
For that fight, it did.
Yeah,
100%. And then to sort of take all that, compound it together, and still get through it and get the win, it made that feeling just like extra sort of special. And then kind of you take that away and you go, okay, that's what I want to do. So I knew straight away then. Like I mean, I probably knew while the fight was going on, like even though it wasn't sort of the first 2 rounds, it wasn't going my way, I kind of, looking back at it now, I can say like, I was like, okay, I want to do this. This is something I want to do.
Yeah.
And then, to go from that sort of experience to be where I am now, like we sort of spoke about, I'm back to back, co-main events on the biggest promotion in the country or in the region, really.
Top of the food chain fighters, competing in, like you said, the largest promotion in Australia, but on top of that, training with some of Australia's greats.
Pretty much the best, the best in the country I get to work with quite often, which is a blessing for me. I mean, so, I look at I think the way the sport is and the way this sort of things work, people go, your most recent performance or like the current sort of things that are happening, that's sort of, for the eyeballs watching you, that's kind of what the focus is.
Yep.
Everything else, it's part of the journey and that, but it kind of gets left behind.
Oh yeah, you get very judged by your last 3 fights.
Yeah, 100%. So I guess a lot of people, and I think that's with some of these fights too. Like, I guess I come into some of these fights with like a bit of a chip on my shoulder, where, like even like now with Eternal, they have the partnership with Neds and they got the betting odds and stuff like that. And like going into my last fight, they had me as like a pretty big underdog, and I was just like, all right, cool. This is going to benefit me and benefit all my friends and family because everyone betting on me is about to make money.
Bet the fucking house.
I told everyone asked me, they're like, all right, like people were like asking me, they're like, how much money should I put on? I was like, however much you want. So, and that was the sick part about after the fight, getting all the screenshots that people sent me of like all like the money that they won, and that that kind of gasses you up a bit too. But I like it, man. Cause
I think you can't focus too much on that though.
No, I don't. I do enjoy the fact that
it's a dangerous game you're playing there because
100%.
If you touch wood, but if you lose the fight and your mate's down 10K, I mean, 100%. That's tough.
It's I'm not even like looking at it from that point of view, trying to put extra pressure on myself or anything like that. I'm just relishing in the fact that whoever's putting this stuff together they might be lacking the knowledge of actually, what's in front of them. And if that's the case and it's going to benefit people close to me, I'm going to be happy with that. So I'm not going to complain. Like, I can already tell you in my fight with Mohammod, I'm going to be a massive underdog in the fight. Like, I know that's what's going to be the case. But that's cool. And that's what kind of gives me that extra bit of...
Why do you feel like you're going to be the underdog?
Looking at his sort of thing, he's 7-0, he's undefeated. He's coming off a win over Adolfo Marquez, who I've also fought against as well and beaten as well. He's 7-0. He hasn't ever really been, so far, he hasn't really been in any sort of trouble. His fight before that, he fought a guy up in weight named Cody Barnwell, who's an absolute monster.
Yep.
And the fight got stopped because of a cut that happened, and Mohammod got the victory. But before the fight got stopped for a cut, like, it was starting to look a bit rough for him. Granted, he's fighting up in weight against a very big guy. So outside of that brief period, the guy hasn't really been tested. He hasn't really been put in jeopardy. He hasn't really, looked like he's been in trouble at any point. So, I mean, that's a factor, obviously. But the biggest factor is it's like, if you look at my record, like I'm 9-5 at the moment as it stands. But a lot of, like, a couple of my losses, or like a few of my losses, were up in weight at short notice because I couldn't get a fight in my weight class. So, you know, I was talking about this with Joe the other day, actually. Shout out to Joe Lopez, my head coach.
Shout out to Joe Lopez.
I was talking to him, and, you know, at featherweight, I'm like, at featherweight, if I remove those other fights up in weight off the table, I'm like 8-3, and in my last 5, I'm 4-1 with 3 finishes.
Yeah, that is a good way of looking at it, actually.
So obviously, we kind of touched on this a little bit off air. Like, I don't regret any fights that I've had, or look at anything and go, oh man, I wish I could take that back. You know, it all kind of factors in.
Yeah, but why don't they do fight records like that?
They're all like split it between
weight classes. That makes so much sense.
It'd be interesting if they did something like that.
100%. Because, like, for example, you get Israel Adesanya, who absolutely destroys his undefeated in his weight class, and then goes up one, grabs his first
a close
L.
decision, yeah.
Can you really say that he, like, when he goes back down to his natural weight class, can you really say he has that L if it was in a different weight class?
No, not really.
I don't think you can.
I don't think you can. Because that's it. Like, there's...
Well, Canelo recently going up in weight class, you know?
See, like, I saw a lot of people ragging on him, being like, oh, you know, he lost, like, he's done. And it's like, man, the guy went up, like, multiple weight classes. He's like a world champion in, like, 4 weight classes. Goes up, fights a very big dude, up in weight.
Well, not only a very big dude, one of the best in the world.
And it's not like he got smashed.
He didn't just pick a bum. He didn't just pick up. No. He could have easily just taken an easy fight in that weight class, get comfortable with it, do 3 or 4 fights there. He just went straight to the top.
And that's it. And it's not like, you look at the fight, it's not like he got smashed. Like, it was a good fight.
Yeah, it was a good fight.
So,
yeah. I don't think there's a lot of controversy around the decision. I think it's pretty clear when you look at the whole 12 rounds. That he didn't win the fight. And I know a lot of people have actually been attributing his change of diet to the way he fought, because he went vegan.
Went like full vegan.
Full vegan for this fight, which is, and I think he's kind of been in and out of that vegan world before. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not that close with him, unfortunately. But a lot of people were attributing that kind of lackluster Canelo performance to his diet, which kind of makes sense, man, because, you know, I get the vegan thing, and I can understand it from an ethical standpoint why people would feel that it's the right move to move, and I don't judge it, you know, I have no problems with it at all. But I think if you're a fighter, and I think if you're going to be putting your body in huge amounts of stress and huge amounts of physical trauma, emotional trauma. Like, I recently had a dietitian on the podcast, and he was talking a lot about how, you know, in culture, carbohydrates in particular are kind of demonized, and they're 100%. You know, because a lot of people overeat on carbohydrates, and we love Krispy Kremes and sandwiches and pasta and bread, and I mean, dude, I love all that shit. But the notion kind of has been for, you know, if you want to lose weight and you want to be healthy, you want to cut out as much carbohydrates as possible and maximize your protein and keep your fats at a healthy range. He said, but for peak performance and for peak physical execution, especially in something like a fight, it's actually very important to have a diet that's rich in carbohydrates and is very rich in, you know, energy-rich foods, because you need it. Yeah, you need it. You can't survive just off tinned tuna and potatoes. No. It just doesn't work. So I genuinely think that Canelo's shift away from eating meat and eating what he traditionally would eat,
it's to his detriment.
I think it would have been to his detriment.
I mean, that's it. Like that's, things like that are going to play a factor, and that'll, I mean, that's like everything like that factors in, and that's what it's how it circles back to when you look at the fights, and if you're someone who has to do the odds, or you have to, you know, kind of, or you're breaking down fights, like obviously, or something like that, you're going to factor everything in, because you have to. You can't put anything off the table. Yeah, you got to take it all in. So I think for me, for my money, that's a big reason why I think people kind of look at me and go, oh, I don't think this is like this is a pretty clear cut way to look at a fight and go, oh, well, this guy should have the advantage.
Yeah.
But if you look at it from that perspective, like how I just broke it down, I'm a monster at this weight class. I'm very big. I'm huge for featherweight.
That's one of the things that really surprised me about you is your height and your
very
reach.
Tall, very long, very big.
Very long.
Like I said, I'm 4-1 in my last 5 and 3 finishes. Like, I just subbed the second most experienced dude in the region outside of Rodolfo Marquez. And now I'm fighting the person that no one wants to fight, or it seems that no one wanted to fight. Who's like a lot of people.
When you look at Mohammod then, and you kind of break down his footage and his tape and his fight style, what do you see and what holes do you think you have to expose?
He's very explosive. He's very powerful, very explosive. The guy, he's dangerous. He's a dangerous guy. He's very athletic. He's very, I guess, well versed in all areas from what I've seen so far. I mean, majority of his fights have been on the feet, and he sort of kept it standing, and that's where he's done his best work. But there's been glimpses on some of the fights that he's shown that he's got the grappling knowledge, he's got the wrestling awareness. So he's obviously a dangerous guy, and I respect his skills, but at the same time, he's not this. I don't look at him and think, oh, he's this boogeyman that everyone's like trying to paint him out to be, if that makes sense. And that's not a knock on the guy. Like, it's not like I just think it's a bit sort of short-sighted to look at this fight and just assume that either one of us is just gonna like very handedly deal with the other one. Like, that's the outcome that we both want. We both want to put a stamp on it, get a finish, and do it like that. But to just come into the fight with either one of us and look at it like that and go, oh yeah, nah, this is light work for me, that'd be silly, and it'd be to your detriment. So for me, obviously, I've got to be on point with this guy because he's the most dangerous dude I've fought so far in my career. He's very explosive. He's very very athletic. You see him, he throws flying knees. The guy's like it's all power. He throws everything full clip. Like, he's trying to take your head off your shoulders. Mm-hmm. So if you're lacking defensively, or if you're getting a bit sort of one track minded in the fight, or you lapse that little bit, one of them shots lands, it's going to put you away 100%.
Should he be concerned about his gas tank then, considering that he is so explosive and so full on when he fights? I
think that's when I spoke about earlier with the fight with Cody. I think you saw that a bit, because there's only so long that you can just throw everything full clip.
Yeah, of course.
You start, and that was like, I mean, I think that fight went into like the 4th round because it was for super fight title. You can't do that for like a long extended period of time. But in saying that, though, so far we haven't seen it be a factor for him. But that's all well and good, in the fights that you've had so far. But we'll see how that pans out when you've got to go into like a 2nd round and potentially a 3rd round with me after I've, put the pace on, put the pressure on, got a hold of you, made you work, made you sort of, have to scramble up, the lactic acids building up in your arms and your legs. How are you going to adjust to that? And he might very well adjust to that. But for my money, I think a lot of these guys get a wake-up call when they're in there with me and I get a hold of them and they realize like, oh, okay, like I thought it was going to be a lot different to this. I thought I was going to be able to do a lot more. And then they realize that they can't. Because, it's a combination of the fact that the wrestling and everything's like the foundation that I started with. But I think the biggest surprise and I feel it when I'm in there with these guys, I think the biggest surprise is they don't actually realize like how taxing it is when I get a hold of them. They don't realize how strong I am. They don't realize how big I am, how heavy I am, how hard I am to deal with. It's all well and good to think that you're going to be able to scramble up those few times, but what are you doing after that to dictate the fight?
From the footage that I've seen of you, you love a body triangle and you love to hold and squeeze people and really weigh them down and really let them feel your presence. And, from the very limited wrestling and jiu-jitsu experience I know how draining that is on the body, just to hold another person's weight and still have to be defensively conscious of your neck, of your limbs, of your body, still trying to avoid punches and figure out counter moves. Like, it's very, very taxing. And I guess that's the big back and forth between striking and let's call it jiu-jitsu grappling, but will involve wrestling with it as well. That's the kind of the big back and forth between the two fight styles, is that the boxer and the striker is always going to be looking for that early finish and always be looking for that early knockout. Of course, there's exceptions. There's volume fighters and people that are
100%.
just going to hit you with 7, 8, 9 shots.
Yeah.
But I think for the majority of the time, strikers are looking for a knockout. They're looking for
a quick night.
Whereas for you, I think it plays a lot more into your favor the longer the fight goes on.
100%. I mean, and that's the thing, like, with it, you know, I sort of spoke about it after my last fight a bit. Like, I know that I'm a complete mixed martial artist, and, you know, being where I'm based at freestyle now, especially, like, even more so, like, I've seen, like, you look at my fights from fight to fight since I've been at freestyle, even in my loss to Costa, like, you can see the improvements that I'm making as, like, between each fight. And, like, me now, as I sit here today, if I was to fight the guy that moved to freestyle a year ago, I would destroy myself in under a minute. It wouldn't even be close. And that's what you want. So that's,
of course.
And that's kind of the focus for me. So, you know, like, people, I think in that last fight with Phil Pot, people saw like a glimpse of a few things here and there. Like, man, like, it's hard for me. Like, I don't need to go into a fight with someone and go prove myself in the area that they're very adept in, just for my ego. You know, I showed glimpses against Alan, and, you know, in the last fight, I showed, like, there's some stuff that I have in my toolbox that people might not know, or that they might not be ready for. And, you know, you got to kind of watch yourself. If you think that you're going to step into a cage against me and you only have to worry about the wrestling and the grappling, you're going to get like a really bad wake up call, because I can do it all. I have to be able to do it all, because look at where I train. Look at who I'm sharing the mats with. I can't just rely on like a one-track mind type thing. And then, you know, but with Alavi, like, I don't need to stand in the pocket with this dude and get into a fight with him for my ego just to prove that I can do that. Like, I've done that before in the past. I mean, I fought Aiden Maroki on 13 hours notice. I took the fight at the weigh-ins.
Sorry, could you say that again?
13 hours notice, up in weight at like welterweight.
13 hours?
Yeah.
What does that phone call sound like?
Oh, well, I put my hand up. I called Cam O'Neill, the promoter, and I saw his opponent fell out, and I was like, I'll fight him. So that came together. And that fight was that. It was 3 rounds of us just standing there, banging it out. And so in that fight, like, I showed I can do that. If I need to, I can do that. If you take everything else off the table, if we're just going to have a scrap and we're just going to stand there and bang it on, I can do it. But I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's...
When you make that phone call and you say to Cam over at Eternal, and you say, hey, I'll take the fight, like, today, like, in 12 hours time, I'll be there. Does that put you in a more beneficial position long term, because they know that you're reliable and that you'll step up to those kinds of situations?
Yeah.
Like, you're bailing them out of a tough situation.
100%.
You're doing them a huge favor, and you're putting yourself on the line.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, I've done it a few times, and, you know, you take it, it's high risk, high reward, right? Like, there's obviously that fight, lost a split decision. So on the night, you know, it didn't pan out with me getting a win, but my stock still went up. It still benefited me in a massive way. And then obviously, yeah, with Cam and the team at Eternal, like, they know that, you know, if it's right now, if I was to look at the layout, if you need someone to step in for a fight, like, you call myself or Rod Costa, and we're going to do it, because, like, we've both done that before numerous times.
And it's just because you love the game.
100%.
You don't care about the name. You
and
don't
also,
care about...
some of those, like, at the end of the day, I couldn't care who I'm fighting. I couldn't care what the weight class is. I mean, if it makes sense and it comes together, like, they could put me in there with anyone. I don't think.
Does anyone over at Freestyle say, hey, Justin, this is a 12-hour fight, like, maybe don't take this one?
Where I'm at now at Freestyle, yeah, obviously it's a bit different. At my previous gym, my old coach, he was a bit more. He was, like, obviously apprehensive a few times when I did step up in weight at short notice, and he's like, "You don't need to be doing this. Like, eventually we'll get a fight in your weight class. You'll get a fight." He's like, "You don't need to be doing this," but, you know, I was just like, "No, but, like, I just want to fight. I don't want to sit around and wait and wait and wait." So, you know, there's I think it was like 3 times where I did that. I fought on short notice up in weight, because I just couldn't get a fight in my weight class. And like, like with that fight against Aiden, I lost a split decision. It was a fun fight. It was a close fight. I won the first round, nearly submitted him. He come out the second round, boxed my face off, tried to knock me out. So it just kind of hit me with everything in the kitchen sink. Third round, super close again. And then, it was an entertaining fight. And, it only sort of benefited me in that sense. And it all sort of played a factor because moving forward, like I said, I know that if I have to, if it all comes down to it for some reason, and I'm just there for 15 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever, just standing in the pocket, punching on with someone, I can do that because I've done it already in the past. I know within myself I can do that. And I've done it up in weight against someone who's a lot bigger, hits a lot harder than anyone that I'm going to fight in my weight class, and then there's been I look at that same sort of thing, and there's scenarios like it's high risk, high reward. When you do that, you take that big risk and it pays off. It's insane. Like you can't even describe the feeling. I had that with one of my teammates, blew his knee out 3 weeks after my fight, so I jumped in to replace him, up in weight again, 2 weight classes up, upper welterweight, and I got a first round submission win, right? So that was one of those ones where it's like it all paid off, and it was like holy crap, big risk, big reward. And I can tell you, like that feeling was surreal.
Big fucking risk, man.
The dude I fought was like 86 kilos on fight day.
Oh my God, what do you walk at?
I walked into the cage for that one. Like jumped on the scale. I was 76.7.
Oh my God.
And then obviously I didn't have to cut weight, so that was it. I just walked in, did my thing, and fighting up in weight against a monster of a human being, like got cracked in the first exchange with just like a massive punch. And I just remember like I got hit.
And there's a big difference, man. There's a big difference in the way those punches feel.
Oh, the weight behind it is you can feel the difference.
Yeah.
Like with someone like that who hits hard, has power, but also just the weight behind it. Like the dude's like 86 odd kilos and he hits like a truck and he's big
weighs
guy.
in at 86. Who knows what he walks at?
Yeah.
And I mean, there's weight classes in MMA for a very clear reason. Yeah. You can't have it as fun as it would be to see Francis Ngannou versus Conor McGregor. You can't. It's just you're putting way too much risk on the table, and people would die. People would actually die. Like Francis Ngannou would kill Conor McGregor.
1,000%.
Like you couldn't do it. So yeah, that is a huge level of risk. I remember the first time I sparred someone like. I walk at 70, and this guy must have been like 100 kilos, like easy, like 100 kilos. And, fuck it, let's spar, let's do it. I'm thinking I'm faster than this guy, I'm just going to gas him out.
Stick and move, yeah.
Yeah, just fucking move. I remember the first jab that landed, and when it hit my face, and I was like, I fucked up.
You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Big different, man. And then when you start looking at those like tiny little MMA gloves, those 4 ounces.
Yeah.
I mean, dude.
You don't need much to land. Like you just land with those little gloves and it can be bad. Like in hindsight, I could sit here and
you
go,
got fucking cojones, man.
In hindsight, I could sit here and go, okay, I shouldn't, I probably didn't need to do that, or I didn't need to sort of take those fights and that. But like I sort of said, it all factors in and it's all kind of been little incremental steps on the path to sort of where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And it's all things like, it's all relative experience that I'm going to be able to apply moving forward. Because, especially like in that fight, the guy I fought, his name's Nathan Wilson. He, he cracked me in the start of that fight with like some bombs. He hit me with an uppercut, sat me down with it, where it was like one of those ones where it went dark. It came back and like my butt hit the mat and he was rushing in and I was like, oh shit. And I was like, it's time to wrestle. So I just grabbed him, got him against the cage, kind of slowed things down a bit. My coach at the time, Paul Stolio, who's based up in Brisbane, head coach at Southside MMA, he kind of brought me back to sort of neutral, was talking me through the positions and was just kind of like, take your time. And then, was able to get the win. And use my experience and just my abilities to sort of adjust and get the win. But, moving forward, I know that no matter what happens sort of in fights, like at this point, I've had like 14, 15 pro fights. I think I had like 9 or 10 amateur fights. So, I'm almost up to like 30 MMA fights. So I've got that experience and that.
Yeah.
And so moving forward, everything that I'm going to experience in the cage, it's not going to be like new to me. And
what was the name of your previous gym?
Southside MMA.
Southside MMA. So how, as a fighter and an athlete, how was that transition from Southside MMA to freestyle, where you're training with one of the world's best in Alexander Volkanovski?
Yeah, it's surreal. Like, it was surreal because obviously, I'll be honest, before I moved, because initially I was up in North Queensland, in the sort of first gym I started at, and then I made the move to Brisbane, joined Southside MMA, and I was there for like maybe, I think I was at Southside for like maybe probably 3 years, and that was a sort of a crucial step in my journey for me, because the first time I actually was I was in a gym, and I actually felt like at home, and I felt like happy across the board with my coaching, with my training, and I felt like my coaches were actually sort of invested into me. So that 3 year sort of stint there, that kind of the leaps of improvement I made, the sort of fights I had and everything, those are all factors that came into getting me to where I'm at now, but also like making me a better fighter to the point where I'm at now. So then a year ago when I came down to freestyle, it was like the opportunity for me to do that came as a result of the work that I was doing when I was at Southside, under Paul. Like that all led to where I'm at now with freestyle. And then a year ago, I was kind of like, I was looking at sort of what was ahead for me, and I was kind of like, all right, got to talking with Volko. I think he was in camp for the second Holloway fight, I believe. It was right, with COVID and everything factored in, I was actually going to potentially come down to be part of that camp. COVID kind of put the brakes on that because, traveling kind of ceased, and there was all that sort of stuff.
So does he just call you? Does he just text you? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, it was kind of like, it was more, it just came up sort of conversationally more than anything. And then I think, looking at it was like, being how tall I am for the weight class, the sort of build that I have, and that, it's pretty similar to Max. Like, he's pretty tall for the weight class as well, and stuff like that. So I feel like it's just more so from Alex's point of view, looking at it going like, well, here's a similar body type that I can utilize to prepare myself for this guy. It didn't end up panning out because of COVID and all that sort of stuff. But then I was so set on coming down here, like I was kind of, okay, well, maybe I should just move down.
Yeah.
But then I was talking to Joe and Alex about it, and then they said, why don't you come down for a couple of days, check out the gym, train. We can sort of factor this all in. And then it just so happened that when I came down, they had like their fight team tryouts happening. It was over like 2 days or whatever. So I was here for that time, just jumped in, got after it, met a bunch of people, trained, did all this sort of stuff. And then it was like the week after that, I was back up in Queensland, and then, they kind of called me and were like, yeah, we want you to come down and be part of the team. And then I was sitting there going, well, this is a big factor for me to sort of take into consideration, like pack up and just move down. But
weren't you jumping for joy?
I was super stoked.
Screaming on your balcony?
Yeah, I was very happy. I was like, as soon as I knew that they were like, all right, well, we want you to come down, I was kind of like, all right, well, I've got to do this. Packed up everything, moved down, and just didn't look back. And then I showed up here. I was matched to fight on Eternal against Michael Barber. Volk was in camp doing his first camp for Ortega. Obviously, the boys ended up getting COVID. There was a bunch of craziness that happened, so the fight got pushed back. But I came down, my first session, like proper session at freestyle, when I moved down, they were already he was already 3 weeks into his camp for Ortega. I was like just starting my camp for my fight on Eternal, which was like scheduled for just after when he was meant to fight. But I just remember walking into the gym, and there was like this moment of just realizing like, yeah, I'm in the right place. Like this, like I said, in hindsight, this is where I should have been. If I could have been here from the start, I can only imagine where I'd already be now, if you know what I mean. Yeah. But then I was like, all right, well, I'm here now. Like, I'm blessed to be here. I'm fortunate to be here. Like, let's absorb it. I walked in, there's a sparring session for the first session. Keep in mind at this point, they were already like 3 weeks into their camp. So, and there wasn't a case of like, we're not going to like wait for you to sort of catch up to where we're at. It's like, you're just straight into the deep end. So I walk into the gym, chuck myself up for sparring. We've got like Josh Kulabel on the mat, Jamie Malarkey, obviously Volko, my other teammate Colby Thickness. You've got like Blake Donnelly, Arlene Blanco. You've got all these like top athletes like on the mat and in this sparring session, and just so I was kind of there was no opportunity to sort of ease your way into it. And I just remember there was this moment where I did like my first round with Volt, and obviously I hadn't sparred him before. He'd never sparred me before. So like there's that factor of like you sort of don't know what to expect. And like I moved around, like had this first round with him, and then I remember I like went away, sparred like maybe 2 more rounds or something like that, came back to spar him again, and he just had an answer for everything. I couldn't do anything. And I just remember being like, what is going on? Like everything I was trying to do, and he just like, he had about 4, 5, 6 options to counter that and just deal with it. And then obviously, and then that's when I remember just like after that round, I just remember going, oh, okay, so that's the level that you have to be at to be a world champion. Like that's where you have to aspire to get to. And then I just remember like thinking, holy shit, and I'm going to be able to like train with this dude every day and absorb that and obviously learn from that. So, and then I was just like, all right, I'm
that
so
would have been
stoked.
such like a pinch me moment.
Yeah.
Like I'm sparring Alexander fucking Volkanovski.
Yeah. And now, like I said to your fair, now it feels like I've been here for like just over a year, but it feels like I've been here for like years now, and I just feel,
So what do you think? That first round, he was just downloading information, and he was just looking at your habits, or
literally, I think, yeah, he was. From my point of view, I was trying to obviously, spar and do what I do, but for him, he was just, downloading data pretty much, and only people like obviously he's very talented, and obviously the dude can fight. And his
so I've heard.
His physical attributes are just insane. Like he's a freak athlete. And even though he doesn't consider himself to be a freak athlete, I'll say it for him. He's a freak. Like the dude's a freak. But his fight IQ is just ridiculous.
I think what you said before was very true in that's the level that you have to be at in order to be in the UFC and be a UFC world champion.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? Because you've got to. I'm sure you've considered this perspective before, but we've seen, for his entire UFC career, we've seen every punch that he's thrown, every kick that he's thrown, every takedown that he's landed, everyone that he's missed. We know all of his habits. We, like, especially for a fighter, analyzing him and really breaking him down, like everything's on the cards.
Yeah.
There's no secrets.
Yeah.
So he has to have that fight IQ ability to do that to his opponents as well, and be able to live in the moment, not just consciously like writing down the information, but live in the moment, see those opportunities. I mean,
and that's what people don't understand. Like you're perfectly spot on. Like the content's there. Pull up UFC Fight Pass, go watch all the fights that you want to watch, and but there's so many of those. That's when those other factors come in. That's when the experience comes in, the fight IQ, like the little nuances that you can't even explain to people, because the ability to take the information and present it to someone and go, well, this is another factor that you have to consider when you're watching these fights, and why he's able to do that against the best in the world. It's insane. Like there's so many little things that he's doing all the time that you can't, to even try and explain to someone and be like, well, this is leading this decision he's making right now in this moment, live in a UFC title fight with a dangerous person in front of him, that in minute 2 of round 2, that's what led to the finish in whatever this part of the fight. Then you like it all factors in, and it's all calculated, and it's like there's no randomness about it, if you know what I mean. And I feel like that's why when you are sort of standing across from someone like that who is a world champion in the field that they're in, you can just kind of you can see it and go, and then you're like holy shit. Well, that's obviously the goal. The goal for me has always been to be a world champion in the sport, and I feel like I'm so blessed that I get to share the mats with the world champion every day, that I can see that, okay, this is the work that needs to be done. This is the mindset you got to have. This is how you have to approach it. There's all these other factors that come into it. It's not just getting in there and fighting. There's a bunch of other things that sort of play in. And, lessons that I take away from being around someone like Volko. And I feel like that's what's going to continue to benefit me moving forward in my own career, because I can apply those things.
And, taking Volko off the table for a second, like just being around, UFC contenders and UFC fighters, or, top of the food chain at Eternal, or people over at One, or, just established fighters that are breaking it out into the pro leagues.
Yeah.
It would only elevate your game,
100%. And
what's the expression? A high tide raises all ships. So when you're in that environment and you're able to, pick up notes from here and get caught here and take all these tiny little micro lessons along the way and fine tune your own game, and maybe not even on a conscious level. I bet you a lot of what you're learning is actually subconscious, and you're not even aware of how your striking's progressing at times. It's probably just like one day you just have that extra millimeter or that extra half a second of reaction time, and you're like, oh, fuck. That's just what happens when you train with the world's best.
100%. Like, you're not always going to see distinct and clear improvements in your game where you can like go, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's going to be over a period of time. Then like you said, you're going to be able to notice those things because they're going to stack up more, and you're going to be like, oh, actually, that has improved that much. I'm doing this part better. My footwork's better here. My timing's better here. My ability to get takedowns is better because of the improvements I've made in this part with my striking, or, it all kind of sort of factors in. So like you said, I'm training with some of the best people. I'm sharing the mats with some very talented fighters, very talented athletes. Joe Lopez is like probably one of the most brilliant minds in the sport. And his investment into sort of coaching you and breaking things down for you, and doing it in like a completely honest way. There's no sugarcoating of anything. Like he's gonna break it down from an honest point of view and tell you what you need to hear, whether it's good, bad, anything in between. And I feel like that's essential too. You can't just come in, train, and think that every session you're just going to get like bombarded being like, oh, that was really good, you've done this well, this was really good. That's not realistic. So that's just another factor that plays in. Like the whole process.
What's the culture like there? Like, are you guys hanging out after sparring sessions, and are you guys tired, or is it a bit more just like we're just training partners and that's it?
Nah, the sort of culture at freestyle is real cool. Obviously all you need to do is just go on like the freestyle page, and you'll see like the banter is a big part of it. Like we're all trying to stitch each other up whenever we have the opportunity. There's just everyone's just always like the culture's real good. Everyone's hanging out. Like we'll go get food. We'll have like watch parties and watch like the UFC. Obviously when Volk fights, like the whole team and everyone, we kind of all get around it and get together and support him and stuff like that. But, even that off the table, just sort of general sort of everyone hanging out in the gym, out of the gym, it's just a really good...
Do you guys have big celebrations after, let's say Volkanovski defends his UFC title? I bet you guys go hard those nights, right?
We've had some... in my time, I've had some big... In my year at freestyle, I've had some big nights out with the boys after some of these wins. Like even now, like after my last fight... on Eternal, we went out after, like we celebrated after that a bit, and it was just, we had a crazy group of people come up. Like we had like 20, 30 people come up from the gym, because I was fighting on alongside one of my teammates, Amina Herdeen. She fought as well. So like the crew that we had with us was just a massive crew, a good group of people, and we were all like celebrating afterwards. We all had like 7 a.m. flights out the next day, and like no one outside of I think Volko, I don't think anyone got sleep. He's funny because he'll go out. He's one of those guys that like the way he sets it up, he likes to start early and then finish at a reasonable time,
right?
So that and then but
because he's a professional.
Yeah, even at partying, he's a professional. So like, which is kind of cool. I wish I had that approach. I probably need that approach sometimes. But I think after that night, the next morning when everyone was at the airport, barely able to function. I think we all kind of wish we did the same thing.
Actually, I do. Now that you say that, I do remember this clip of Andrew Schultz's podcast. Jan, can you pull this up for me on YouTube? Just do Alexander Bubbler story. Have you seen this?
Yes.
You've seen this? For the people at home, I'll play it.
You don't know about the bubbler?
No.
That's like it's just a thing the rugby league players do. So it's just literally just piss in your mouth. But you do it like... What do you call? What do you call? What do you call? What do we call when we piss our mouth?
It sounds like fun.
Celebrations. 100%.
Yeah.
Like when he
Any
fought,
Bubbler stories? You got any like that?
not so much that sort of type of thing, but yeah, there's been some sort of stuff where it's like it's like in that similar range where it's kind of like you know how it is. You get a couple of guys together, people are partying, they're drinking, and there's going to be just like random shit that happens.
Yeah, I bet. And when you're partying with assassins and killers and athletes that going through the highest highs and lowest lows together as a team, and you're bonded like cement in that way, I can imagine celebrating a victory must just be such a huge, like, not only explosion of energy, but just like, we did it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, back to the drawing board. Like, let's enjoy this moment. Let's make sure we capture it and in time forever as a team, because that is so important.
Like, you know, being this one, especially with Volko coming from like his rugby league sort of thing, he's got like a bunch of friends.
Add story to the end of it. Sorry, yeah, you were saying?
He's got a bunch of friends that like obviously that he played footy with before he started fighting. So like when he is having these celebrations, like the footy boys are there too. And everyone knows like footy boys get wild. So
they go hard.
things just So there was like
they're professionals.
We went out and celebrated after he beat Ortega. We had like a celebration. And then at one stage, it was myself, Josh Coolabau, Jamie Malarkey, Blake Donnelly were like, we're at this night, like sort of nightclub, and there's like this downstairs like hidden sort of hip hop R&B sort of style bar club area, and it was like way past midnight, and you know, so we're show up to this place. And obviously everyone knows how it works here. It's like after midnight, you know, like they don't serve you shots or anything like that.
Yeah.
But like we just kind of finessed our way to still do that. So we were just grabbing like trays and trays of Sambuca shots and then just like putting them back and knocking them away. And then at one stage, somehow Blake convinced the DJ to play Undertaker's entrance music.
Oh no.
And went like full character and did like Undertaker's entrance in the middle of a nightclub, coming down the steps with like the lights dimmed and everything.
Oh,
and it might have been one of the best things I've ever been part of. Like, it was amazing. Everyone else that was in this thing was super confused.
Of course.
No one had any idea what was going on.
A bunch of 20-year-old white girls that probably have never even seen an octagon in their life. Like, what the fuck is this?
And
What's this music?
It was just one of those scenarios where it was just kind of like it was so random and so funny. And then there was a distinct moment where this girl, obviously, I think she because obviously people are going to come up to like, you know, a couple of the boys and they're going to want photos and stuff like they're going to recognize them, you know, people that are following the sport. So I think at one stage a couple of people came up and got photos with Josh and Jamie, and then this guy's girlfriend like came over and got a photo with him, and she was like sat between them and like posing for a photo. And I think he took offense to it, like in some way. And I kind of caught him in the corner of my eye, like getting riled up. And I was like, and I saw him start walking over. So like they're at one side, he starts walking over, and I'm like, oh no, like let me just go throw this dude a lifeline. And I like walked over and I was like, hey man, I was like, this is not the move. Like, let me just tell you, it's not the move. So he's like, and then he was obviously annoyed. You know how it is, man. People get jealous and whatever. It's a factor. And I made him like pull up his phone and like go on the old Instagram, and I was like, you know, searched up their names, and then he sort of like had a look and was like, oh, and then kind of just like,
you might have saved that guy's life.
Pretty much. Like, I mean, in my head I thought about it. I was like, what was going to be the scenario? Because for my money, you know, if he walked up and punched either of those boys, they're not going to turn around and do anything. Like, but it'd get to a point where you'd have to.
I think if he landed a punch,
100%. Like, for my money, I think most fighters.
I think that's the big problem though, that he'd have to land.
Yeah.
So if they're paying attention and they see him coming, it's just
look, for my money, the way the scenario was sat, how they would like, they weren't even really paying, like, because they're preoccupied with what they were doing.
Yeah.
If he'd have punched either one of them in the back of the head or something like that, like in that scenario, like if we didn't catch on, because like, or if I didn't sort of catch on, oh, for sure, then it was about to be that dude's like the worst day of his life.
Oh, the worst.
100%.
Have you seen that footage? I'm sure you've seen it of Mike Tyson and the airport boy
And just punching him on the plane.
eating shots. Can you pull that up, Sian? I know you didn't find the bubble story, but that's fine. Mike Tyson, airplane.
Yeah, that's not
that kind of situation.
where you just don't realize.
But you have to have fucked up really badly in life to find yourself sitting behind Mike Tyson on an airplane eating shots.
Antagonizing him too. Like what level of confidence do you need to be antagonizing someone like Mike Tyson on a plane?
I think you need to be mentally ill.
I think that's the only factor. Because, look, the way I look at this scenario...
Can we
Mike
play this
Tyson,
footage? Just see if you can cut to the part where that happens. I don't want to tell a new thing. Kill the volume, please. Yeah, just keep cutting forward until you can find the actual footage.
Like, the stupidity involved in this, man. To mess with someone like Mike Tyson. I mean, look...
I've watched this like 10 times. I never get tired of it, man.
I understand it's not 23-year-old Mike Tyson, current world champion, like, fighting in his prime, but still, if there's a list of people that I don't want to get hit by, it's like Francis Ngannou and then Mike Tyson.
Oh, absolutely. Here we go. You can kill. You put the volume up now. Oh.
I will say though,
I think that's a shorter clip.
it could have been
Like that would definitely went a lot longer.
It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
But once he had had enough of it, he asked the man to stop. And when the guy didn't, that's when Tyson reportedly started to throw
That's him
several
antagonizing
punches
him
at the
there,
man's face before
filming
walking
him.
off.
The guy's just on a plane.
Now,
He's probably
photo
high on
obtained
mushrooms
by
or something.
TMZ
Oh my
shows
god!
I just realised that this was not the factor. The face of regret.
Oh my god! Thank you, Sian.
That dude's realization of the mistake that he made. But in saying that, when I say it could have been a lot worse, I mean like it could be like that is probably the worst scenario. You're stuck on a moving aircraft in the sky. You've got nowhere to go.
Yeah, and you're seated in a chair, and there's a person next to you, and the person throwing the punches is Mike fucking Tyson.
If he
Thanks, Jan.
Let's say Mike Tyson wasn't. You know, he kind of like he obviously hit the dude, but like he could have been a lot worse. Say he fully lost it. Like, and he had a flashback to back in the day when he was just knocking people out for looking at him. What's your move? Like, what do you do? Are you going to run to the back of the plane, try to lock yourself in a bathroom? Do you think that there's going to be a scenario where he doesn't get to you?
If I'm sitting on that chair,
like, what's your move? If you just pissed off Mike Tyson?
Realistically, I'm probably going to try and break open the window and get the fuck out of there. You probably couldn't, but that would be like my best bet because there's no way out on the right hand side. You're blocked by another human being, and also fuck that guy for not getting up and moving, right? Like he had a part to doing it as well.
I do appreciate his lackluster attempt at stopping my I would have done the same thing. I would have sat there and gone.
And then I think there just comes a point in time where you just have to accept your fate, you know? When you're caught in a rear naked choke and there's no way out and you're like, okay, lights are going out. Like there is just that acceptance of this is it. We're done.
For my money, yeah, that's...
And what about you? What would you have done?
I guess I would have just hoped that there was like an air marshal or someone on the plane with a loaded firearm, and I would have just tried to find that dude. I would have just been like, please help, someone help. But at the same time, I would not have been surprised if everyone was reluctant in doing so.
Oh, yeah. Did you notice how no one on the plane moved?
Yeah, no one cares.
Everyone's just like, is this really happening?
But is that because, well, that could be because they thought, nah, this dude's a dick and he probably deserves this. But also, are you really going to go act like with intent, try to get between Mike Tyson and what he wants to do? I'm not going to.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I don't care. Like,
the man had pet tigers. He had pet tigers.
Dude, look, even I could fight, man. I I ain't gonna try and get between Mike Tyson if he was trying to punch someone's head in.
What's fucking crazy is that there's whispers of either Jake or Logan Paul actually stepping into the ring with him.
I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, like, what?
If you look at that exhibition that he had with Roy Jones, and you look at a few times there when he like was landing a few of those shots,
Yeah.
like, you could tell Roy Jones was not having a good time.
Of course not.
He's like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, like there was a real switch in him because, you know, Mike Tyson, after his fighting career, became this really deep,
Placid
philosophical, placid dude who was really into weed and mushrooms and DMT and like really explored his spirituality. Probably had a lot of healing to do because of his fucked up childhood.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? He had the worst possible childhood at 13 years old, no love in his life, and his only source of validation was from Customodo, and then the only way he could get that validation was becoming a good fighter, and he just became obsessed and rocked up and was knocking grown men out at 16 years old. Like the legend of Mike Tyson can't ever be replicated.
If you didn't know that it was a real thing because you watched it like play out, if someone made that a movie, you'd be like, oh, this is bullshit.
It's too far-fetched.
It's too much.
Yeah.
You've done too much.
Yeah. And so if for the longest amount of time, he was just this deep philosophical person, and then just to see him switch it back on and go back to that 23-year-old Mike. And obviously the body's decayed and, you know, he hasn't taken the best care of himself. But he gets back into shape, starts hitting pads, and like that footage of him hitting pads, like, oh my guys. And then Jake fucking Paul is gonna go step in the ring. Are you crazy?
But the
Like there is levels to this game. I get oh my god, who did he just knock out?
Tyron Woodley.
I get that you knocked out Tyron Woodley and you're on a good run and you're feeling yourself. But Mike fucking Tyson,
the perspective of that, Jake Paul trying to fight Mike Tyson would be like me fighting John Jones. It's just like not a good idea. Like I'm on a bit of a run. I'm doing pretty good. I'm killing it. I'm learning, getting better. But
yeah,
I don't need to be fighting John Jones.
Yeah, not anytime
soon.
soon, anyways.
So
give it a couple years.
Yeah, maybe when he's like 65 years old. Maybe. But not
and
now.
he has to be clean. He can't be on fucking any substances.
No, yeah.
You can't have a coked up fucking John Jones.
No pictograms, none of that stuff.
Nothing. No, but yeah, man. I mean, how do you feel about that whole celebrity boxing mod?
Look, from one point of thing, like from one point, I can look at it and go, okay, I understand that it's kind of benefiting the sport of boxing because it's getting, more eyeballs on the sport and a fresh set of eyeballs potentially. Because with the way things have panned out with MMA now, and it's still in its relative infancy as a sport, but a lot more people, especially younger people, are kind of like drawing more towards MMA. So to get those eyeballs back onto boxing and kind of, follow along with that, I can sort of see how that's beneficial from that point, and that's a good thing. But at the same time, I think, the sort of celebrity boxing, crazy shit that they're doing like that, it's at the same time, it's like super weird.
Yeah.
I think it has like detrimental effects too. Yeah.
I think what really validates what Jake and Logan are doing in particular is that they really grind it out, and they really they go and they train and they transform and they build this compound where all they do is box. And you can definitely make arguments that they make too much money from it and they have too much attention on them, but that's what they bring to the table, and that's why they're able to have the fights that they do.
That's why they can do it.
Exactly, but they still treat boxing with the respect that it deserves, and I know Jake in particular talks a lot of shit, calling out Canelo. I mean, fuck.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's not good, but he legit trains, and he legit, he's a multi-millionaire. He doesn't have to do any of this.
No, he doesn't need to be boxing right now.
No, he can sit on an island drinking margaritas, riding jet skis for the rest of his life, but he's chosen to do this.
That's a good point. What person that is at that point would want to just stand, in that sort of squared circle, as they call it, and punch on with someone? That you don't need to be doing that.
Yeah.
At all.
for a lot of fighters at least, it's out of necessity. It's, this is what I'm physically
know.
good at,
It's
and
how
this
they
is
make
how I
their
can make money.
100%.
And they're coming at from the opposite end. Usually you see with fighters is that the wealthier and more successful become, the less hungry they become. And you see it in the UFC, you see it in boxing, you see it across the board, that once you get your silk pajamas, it's hard to go jogging at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
It's very hard. And they've already got their silk pajamas and they're still going. And they're still going. And you have to respect that. And I think that's what separates them from the rest of the entertainers. I think for most of them, it's just a quick bag.
Yeah.
You get these TikTok matchups or these Instagram models are fighting each other. And it's just like, you're doing this to showcase, you're doing this for attention.
It's
But
for clout.
yeah, it's exactly right. Whereas what Jake and Logan are doing, I think is very revolutionary for the sport.
Oh, 100%. Like, I think they're obviously going to talk a lot of shit, and there's going to be all that sort of factor involved. But, man, anyone that legit gets in there with the intent to get in there and fight and looks like they're sort of training and, putting themselves on the line like that, you got to respect it. And, like, unless you've done that yourself, you kind of have to almost, like, shut your mouth when it comes to what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, when I see some of these people, like, I've seen, other prominent people sort of knocking on what they're doing, and I'm just kind of like, well, they're still putting it on the line. Like, I know people were sort of a bit sour on the Woodley fight, and they think that it was fixed and he took a dive and blah, 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 blah. But
Can you pull up the Tyron Woodley knockout, please? I want to put this to bed.
please go stand in there and go eat a punch just to your face with one of those gloves on and see if...
What are they, 8 ounces?
Yeah.
That would have been 8 ounce gloves.
And, like, Woodley cracked
Sienna, you there?
Woodley cracked him a few times in the fight as well.
Yeah.
So
Can you pull up the Tyron Woodley getting knocked out, please?
that's, yeah. I mean, the dude is getting punched by someone who knows how to punch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and like you sort of said, he doesn't need to be there. He doesn't need to be standing in front of Tyron Woodley getting his head punched in.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. He's made a really interesting move as well in becoming a boxing promoter. He was very instrumental in getting Amanda Serrano's last fight against Katie Taylor, which is a matchup that should have happened years ago, and it took the star power of Jake Paul to actually make it happen. So love him or hate him, he's sticking around in the sport. Can we watch this knockout, please? Okay, you just rewind a little bit.
Look at where it lands.
Yeah.
Right behind the ear.
And just pause it here. Okay, so look at the way Tyron Woodley goes down. He goes down head first with both arms by his side. Headbutts the canvas. I dare anyone at home that doubts that this is a real knockout to go and try and dive to the floor head first with your hands by your side. Let me know how you go. My bet is that you're going to roll a shoulder or that you're going to stick an arm out at the last second.
Look, you can get people just to do like a little exercise at home. Just take your fist, just tap the back of your head behind your ear like this, just very lightly, and see what that feels like. See how uncomfortable it is. Now look at the amount of torque and force that he just generated.
Can you just press the arrow button to go back frame by frame? Does that work?
Tyron Woodley in the face.
I mean, let's see this again. This is crazy.
Look at the wind up. Look at the force. Look at him turning his hip over. If this is uncomfortable for you, like look at that.
So sweet,
There's so
right
much power
there.
in that.
Thank you, Sian. Yeah.
So now picture that happening to you with someone who's actually has the intent and they're trying to put you out.
And as a specialist in boxing, I think that's one of the many criticisms of Jake Paul is that he hasn't really faced a traditional boxer. And I know he's tried to make that happen with Tyson. Yeah, Tommy Fury, sorry.
Tommy Fury, yeah. Which also, while we're on the topic of Tommy Fury, people need to not hype that dude up too much. Go look at his record and look at some of the dudes he's fought. Like he's fought a couple of guys that are like 1-17. So look, don't get me wrong, he can box. And being that he's, his last name carries a lot of weight, but let's not make out like he's this
He's a model. He's a boxing model. I mean, he's a beautiful man. He's 100%. Very symmetrical and very well chiseled and you can't even like imagine that they're related, Tyson and Tommy. Like they're so biologically just different.
Yeah.
But they are. And
like he can box, but he's like, it's not like I'm not watching, like I'm not sitting there looking at that fight for Jake going like, oh, this is a rough one.
Yeah.
It's not.
No, I think he
it's
takes
actually
the
a
fight
smart
pretty.
matchup.
Yeah, it's a perfect matchup. I think he takes it out pretty easily.
Yeah. No,
I think
he does.
Tommy getting injured was very convenient, and I think it worked into his favor. And he's obviously a good boxer and steps into the ring and does a good job at it. But like you said, he's very much so cherry picking his fight, which is what a lot of boxers do to begin with. In their first,
boxing's about.
Their first 10 fights, generally, you don't really know who they are. You don't.
And boxers will do, if you're doing it properly, you're going to have in between even the big fights, like you're going to have these other feeder fights in between.
Yeah.
Just to keep loose, just to kind of build that up again.
Protect the O at all costs.
And that's the thing, like UFC, that's a big factor in boxing. Once the O goes, it's kind of like, it's a bit iffy. But, that's something that I think in MMA...
Does it though?
You kind of see...
Does it?
I don't think so, but...
I don't think so.
Traditionally...
I'm still going to watch Anthony Joshua fight.
100%. But traditionally, I think that's people's sort of outlook on boxing is like once someone loses, like, oh man, he's done. He's
Floyd
washed.
Mayweather just fucked it up for everyone.
everyone.
The man went 50-0 and fought top of the food chain fighters, and of course he had those feeder fights, and he had,
he was very smart, not just in obviously he's a very talented boxer and had to adjust as his career went on, because if you look at early days, Floyd was putting it on people, was knocking people out and was just putting the hurt on people. He had to adjust his style because the amount of times he broke his hands, things start factoring in.
Yeah.
He became very defensive. And then the last sort of run in his career towards the end, when he started doing that, the dude didn't get hit. He got hit against Moses, and then, Ortiz cracked him a couple times.
Yeah.
But other than that, he barely got touched. But he also was so good at using the other factors as well to be in his advantage. Like when he fought Canelo, he made him cut that extra bit of weight.
Yeah, and got him young.
Yeah,
got him young.
Did it when he was before he sort of got to where he is now. I mean, for my money, I think if you grab, even right now, if you take Floyd and put him across from Canelo, even right now, I don't see Canelo winning in some convincing way. I don't see him knocking him out.
Now.
I don't think he knocks him out. I think it'll be there's a potential chance he could win it a decision, but he doesn't put him away.
Interesting.
And I think Floyd still plays with him for the majority of the round. Yeah. Rounds in the
He's
fight.
such an arsehole.
He's so good.
That. He's such an arsehole. He just won't let you touch. If you broke down boxing, as a sport of hitting people and not getting hit, there's one name that mastered that craft, and it's Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
And I hate to admit it because I'm not a huge fan of the guy. But if you want to talk about GOATs and you don't mention Floyd Mayweather, you shouldn't be talking about boxing because, dude, he's so slick.
So crisp.
I wonder if there's a genetic mutation or something. And I genuinely ask this. I wonder if there's something specific about him that just enables him to have faster reaction time. Is his nervous system wired a certain way? Is he getting more endocrine? They talk about, not good with names today, but there's a specific fighter in the UFC that has much stronger eye tendons as opposed to Yoel Romero. Thank you. And is just biologically, literally built different. So I wonder if there's some 100%. Form of genetic mutation in Floyd Mayweather.
It's a combination. It's obviously there's some genetics that come into fact, his dad boxed, and there's all that sort of his uncle boxed, all those factors come in together. But then it's obviously there's something special going on.
Yeah,
you see it all the time in a sport. Fighting's a sport of 1 in a million athletes that's separated by 1 in a billion athletes being at the top of the food chain, if you know what I mean. So because in the sport of fighting, to be at that level and fighting and being as successful as someone like Mayweather or Canelo, especially in pure boxing, it's insane to sort of look at the fact that he didn't just beat good guys, he beat world champions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So look at some of the people he's fought, these guys are world champions. They're ridiculously good boxers.
And on top of that, man, he's deep into his 50s and he's still doing it. He's deep into his 50s. If Canelo retired in 5 years' time, no one would even question it and be like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. But if Canelo went on to 50 like 50 years old and still fighting without a loss on your record. I mean,
Yeah.
god damn.
For my money, you can look at it and split it however way you want to split it, whether it's in eras or you want to sort of look at by weight classes or whatever the case is. But just straight up, if we're talking about the conversation of who's up there as probably potentially one of the best boxers to ever do it, I think Floyd's top 2.
Yep.
If you're going to boil it down to not you take the money away, you take all that sort of stuff away, that everything else aside, if you boil it down to just the simple outcome of what a boxing fight is, you want to go out there, hit that dude more than he can hit you, and Floyd did that successfully.
To a T, to a science.
Yeah.
To a science. He really had it down to a science. We're talking a little bit about trash talk. Are you well versed in the trash talk world? Is that a domain that you like to step into? Do you like to run your mouth a little bit?
I said it. If I'm one of those people where I'll be humble and respectful until it's demanded for me to be otherwise. And if people want to step into the trash talk side of things, man, I'm pretty well versed in that side of things.
Yeah.
And I'll get after it in that sense as well. I mean, I'll be honest, in my last fight, obviously Alan talked a bunch of shit in the lead up to the fight and was, whether, to try to get a fight or whatever the case is. But it was
what did he say?
Oh, it was just it was just saying right after I fought earlier in the year on Hex, I fought Josh Riley. Straight after the fight, he was on my socials, jumping on the socials, being like, "Fight someone real now. You're ducking the fights, all that sort of stuff. You don't want to fight."
Commenting
anyone.
On your post?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, you don't want to fight me, and then just
that's ballsy.
Trying to get a fight and stuff. Dude had, and then so I I just rinsed him. I was like, "Well, you haven't fought in 3 years. Your body keeps falling apart." As well, you had a knee injury, and you have this, and you have that, and obviously I've trained with Alan before we fought. I trained with him and sparred with him a bit in freestyle, and even before that. And I was I just remember I just rinsed him to the point where he deleted all his comments that he made on the post.
Oh, really?
And then next thing, it came together that the fight got offered, and we started putting that together. But he was just, it's just general sort. He didn't. I'll give the guy, some props. He didn't take it to a point where it would be take it too far or anything. He didn't try and make it a sort of too personal or anything like that. He kept it focused on me, which is kind of cool. And that's if you're gonna do that, then sweet. But an example of that would be when I fought Michael Barber. He and I were scheduled to fight. It fell through because of COVID. The second time we scheduled to fight, it fell through because I took a gamble and decided the opportunity came up for me to the week of the fight to try and drop down a bantamweight to fight in the 4-man Grand Prix. But that's neither here nor there. The point is the fight got scrapped again. We got booked again for a third time. And then he obviously, turned that trash talk up to DEFCON 5 and tried to really get under my skin in the lead up to the fight. When he wasn't getting the reactions out of me,
where was it? Online? Was it at weigh-ins?
Online, messaging me, commenting on stuff, putting videos out, just sort of stuff. And because I wasn't biting on it and wasn't sort of affected by it, he then took it, made it sort of more personal. He started going at my partner at the time. He was talking about my kid, and then I was like, all right, well, and then that's too far now. So that's what. I'll be honest, in that fight, he's a tough dude. Don't get me wrong, he's a very tough dude. He's, there's no quit in that guy. I knew he was never going to be at any point in that fight was going to quit, but there was multiple opportunities for me to put him away in that fight and just submit him and finish him, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to wail on him for 15 minutes and just beat the shit out of him and just to let him know, you messed up. And I think if you go back and watch that fight, the last 30, 40 seconds, I've got his arm pinned with a Dagestani handcuff, as we like to call it, a la Khabib, and I was just punching him in the face really hard. And I was saying to him, I was like, you brought this on yourself. I'm embarrassing you in front of everyone, your friends and family, everyone. I was like, you're getting your head punched in, you've lost this fight, and you're broken. I was just talking mad shit to him, while I was punching him in the face, which is warranted. Because generally, that's the approach, right? The trash talk, you go back and forth with someone. If it's there, it's there. And then it's the same sort of thing. If you hope that you're the one that gets the ends up getting the win, so you've backed it up and it's all good. And when it doesn't go your way, you've got to be able to kind of wear it and swallow your words a bit and go, okay, I messed up.
Yeah.
Well, not messed up, but he got me. He did what he said he was going to do. I didn't get to do what I said I was going to do. But yeah.
Well, that was the real appeal about Conor, especially when he was in his prime and in his best, was that Conor, not only did he have the trash talk and create some of the most internet's iconic memes to this date, but he backed it up and was able to deliver.
Yeah.
Champion in 2 weight classes. But then when he lost as well, until recently, you really saw him be respectful and humble and just
100%.
accept defeat, and it was very on his shield about the whole
And that's
experience.
how you got to be. If you're gonna put yourself out there and you are gonna engage in that, you've got to know in the back of your head there's a potential chance it's not going to go your way. And
Yeah.
You've just got to be able to relish in that. So that's with the last fight with Allen, obviously with the fight with Barber, there was poetic justice. I flew to the dude's hometown and I beat the shit out of him and broke him in front of his nearest and dearest. And after the fight, was walking out the back to the change rooms to go and get sorted. Kind of walked past the corner that he was in. I saw the dude just sat down on the ground and he was just completely broken. And I was like, I didn't have to go on social media then and say anything. I didn't have to go rag on the dude. I didn't have to do any of that.
You said everything that you had to in the cage.
Yeah. I said what I said in the cage, and but my performance, kind of delivered the justice in a sense.
Yeah.
And then, with this last fight with Allen, same sort of thing, we'd going back and forth a bit, but, it didn't, even after the fight, if you look at the fight, obviously right after I submit him, I kind of jumped up and I got in his face and kind of went off at him a little bit. But, after that, it was when it was, it kind of subsided a bit.
Is that fight available online?
It is.
It's on YouTube. Can we pull that up? I'd like to see it.
Or it might not be on YouTube. It'll be on
Fight TV?
Fight Pass.
Fight Pass.
I think. But anyway, I submitted
See if you can find that fight, Sion.
I submitted him and then obviously, got in his face and yelled at him. But and then I went up to Joe. There's actually a moment where I go up to Joe in the cage when I'm taking my gloves off, and I actually asked Joe, I was like, all right, what do you what do you want me to do here? Do you want me to be humble in this point of view right now, or do you want me to rinse this dude for all the shit that he talked? And Joe was like, no, well, you just beat him, you just submitted him, that's enough. And I was like, all right, cool.
When you let your delivery on the actual cage, speak the volumes that you need to, then nothing else needs to be said. I think Khabib was a perfect example for that. You know, he would just tell you with his actions and his words, this is where you messed up. This is where you messed up. Yeah. And we barely ever saw him break out of that mold. Sian, I've just sent you the names of the fights. See if you can find it on Instagram.
I had, the amount of memes that people sent me.
Yeah.
And obviously with my...
And Michael's a tough opponent, man. Michael is a really fucking tough opponent.
Bro.
He comes forward and absorbs pressure.
He's violent. He likes to fight.
Violent. Yeah, he's just violent. That's the perfect way of putting it. He's just violent.
So, after that fight, a bunch of people sent me memes and stuff, and they're there's and that's the sort of danger. And same with Allen, the amount of memes that people sent me, and they were man, you got to rinse this dude. And I was just nah, I'll keep it pretty chill. But, nah.
You've obviously had a lot of success in the cage and in your life, and come to the point where you're at now, where you're co-main eventing Eternal cards, and you've got a very well established name in the Australian circuit. What level of success do you have to hit in order to feel like you've made it?
Nothing short of a world title. And that's my goal. As soon as I had these factors, I was like, all right, I want to win an Australian title. And then after that, the second I won when I fought Rodolfo Marquez and I beat him, and they raised my hand and I beat him, and they, I won my Australian title against him. That was out of sight, out of mind. I couldn't give a shit about winning another Australian title. Like, it'd be cool to, don't get me wrong, it'd be sick to, win the Eternal Belt, being it's the biggest promotion, be their featherweight champ and all that. It's only going to benefit me. But my instant focus after that was like, all right, the next goal is a world title, and that's nothing short of that. It's not.
Is that strictly in the UFC?
Not. I mean, that'd be the first choice, but whether it is straight in the UFC or whether I fight in another organization and then make my way there. But I mean, ideally, yeah, that'd be the first choice. But yeah, there's definitely nothing short of that. Like, I'm not just here thinking like getting signed to the UFC or Bellator or One Championship or PFL or something like that. Like, that's not where it's like the goal or the focus and be like, oh, okay, I'm signed to that promotion order.
It's not enough.
I don't care about that. I want a world title. Nothing short of that is going to be like, I could have a whole career of fighting and, establish myself as this guy who's like one of the most impactful people to do it, and you have all these eyeballs on you, like a la Cowboy Cerrone, someone like that, and be like a fan favorite dude, and you're just, you're well known in the sport, whatever the case is, and you might have had like a bunch of success, but unless I get a world title, like, I'm not going to be happy within myself. And I look at someone like Charles Oliveira, someone like Glover, I was like, whether it's within the next 5 years, whether it's in the next 10 years, whether it's the next 15 years, I don't like that doesn't even faze me. But I know that I'm not going to be happy unless I get a world title. So that's my focus. So that's why even now,
I think that's the way you have to be if you want to be champion.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that you train with a champion and
everything
that you're
else comes
coached
with
by a
it.
champion, if you set that goal, then your standards automatically just have to rise to ensure that
Like,
you hit that.
money wise and all that sort of stuff, like all those other factors, like that all just comes with it.
Yeah.
Being set and focused on your goal is the only thing that you kind of have to do. That's what I have to do. Like, I was smart. I was before getting into MMA and actually pursuing it and being a full-time prize fighter. I was like, I have those other things to fall back on. I have a degree in communications. Like, I worked as a journalist before I started really getting into MMA and like competing and really getting after it.
Sports journalism or just journalism?
I started off in sports journalism and I was doing a bit of everything, but so I have that to fall back on, and that's something that my parents instilled in me from a young age.
So is that where the podcast was born from then?
It was a factor in putting it together with Dan. Like, he approached me the end of last year about it. And
you have a podcast, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Where can they find it?
Fight Talk Down Under. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Podbean.
Go subscribe, like, share.
Get into it. We talk about some fights.
Yeah.
Occasionally I spray a few people. And the best part is about having your own podcast and being an active MMA fighter is, if someone doesn't like something that you said and they're not happy with it, they can come see me about it in the cage. That is the best part. I'm not just an analyst.
That's very true. That's very true.
So, I mean, that's something that my parents instilled on me. They were like, get as many things and qualifications and things that you can get so that no matter what you do, you always have things to fall back on.
Yeah.
So I can just jump in, like dive into, I could like with MMA and just go balls to the wall with it, because I know that it's not like I'm like, okay, once fighting's done, that's a wrap. Like, what am I going to do? I can do whatever I want. I could go back to just doing just straight sports journalism stuff. I could do analyst work. I could, commentate. I could start my own like media marketing business. I could work in sort of athlete relations. Like, there's so many factors that I could do post fighting and things that I could put my energy into. So I'm like, I know that, my focus now can just be 100% on my fight career.
Yeah.
And I'm based at freestyle.
Are you ever concerned about factors like CTE?
I think, you have to be, that's a part of...
Just for the people at home, if you're unaware, CTE is kind of a form of brain damage that just occurs over time from repetitive...
From any sort of, repetitive shots to the head and stuff
and concussions
like
in particular.
It is a factor. Like, it's something you think about. For my money, every time I step in the cage, I do know, like in the back of my head, I do know that there is that, or sometimes, albeit it could be a small possibility, but there is that possibility that, you get punched in the head, and something could be there already, and then it's a wrap. Like, you got to know that getting into a cage and fighting someone, especially with those little gloves, elbows, knees, all that sort of stuff, you know, you could get seriously hurt, but potentially you could die. You know, so that is a factor, but it's not like, I mean, and the CTE side of things, like, yeah, I think for my money, there's going to be, look, if I look back at all the sports I did growing up and you know, some of the sort of stuff I did, I think from some of the other sport I played, like rugby and stuff like that, there's probably more likely chance that if that was a factor or something that happened later in life, it'd be more so from that than MMA. Because
you think getting blows to the head from rugby was more substantial than getting blows to the head from MMA?
I think so. Yeah, I think
really,
and I think and especially for me, I mean, if you look at my career to this point, like I haven't really been hit that much, and that was a product of pre where I'm at now. Like, that's just a product of my fight style. Like I said, like I'm more than willing to showcase my full rounded mixed martial arts game. But I said this after my last fight. Sometimes the opportunity presents itself. It just comes to you, you know, where the wrestling and the grappling and that just factors in. And for the most part, like, I don't, like, outside of maybe the Moroki fight, the Pereira fight, and the Nathan Wilson fight, those are probably, like, I didn't get touched really in any of my other fights. Like, even in the Costa fight, like, obviously that in my last 5, that's my only loss that I've had recently. You know, I got cracked in that fight, but it wasn't like anything damaging or significant, like in that side of things, where I'm kind of like, oh, okay, it was just, you know, it's more of a timing, distance, just being out of position type thing. Yeah. You know, flash knockdown, that's it. It's a wrap. And fortunate enough in that scenario that even when I did get cracked, you know, the ref was pretty on the ball.
I think what you see with a lot of fighters, especially older fighters that, you know, suffer from a lot of CTE and the punch drunkenness and the slurring of the words and the inability to focus, is a lot of those guys just hung in there a bit too long. Oh, that's why when I hear Anderson Silva's boxing, I mean, it's great because he's so fucking good at boxing. It doesn't even make, like, how is Anderson Silva so good at boxing? It doesn't make sense to me. But then there's a part of me that goes as well,
it's too much.
Like
if you look at the 2 examples that I like to give people, if you look at someone like Evander Holyfield, you know, he can't string a sentence together. The dude's like, it's very rough. Yeah. And then you look at someone like Andre Ward, you know, he won a world title in his weight class, went up in weight, won a second world title, and then just walked away. Yeah. Like, I'm done. That dude's going to be fine. He's not going to have... It'd be very rare for that dude later in life.
And I love to see that, man. I love to see them win the belt and run away into the sunset. Like, dude, like, that's it. You're done. You became
Khabib.
Perfect example.
That dude's not going to have any like factors later on where he's punch drunk or struggling to communicate or anything like that. His style, yes, but also he won and was like, I'm done.
But also he was so hard to beat or hit or anything, man. Like
in a sport,
it's hard to find many fighters that have done what Khabib has done. And I would dare to say that he is on the Mount Rushmore of MMA.
100%.
And for a lot of people, he's probably the GOAT. And I couldn't even contend that.
Yeah,
I couldn't contend that.
The only person, it's like him, there's the 3 people I look at, it's Khabib, Mighty Mouse, John Jones. I know people will be like, oh, what about Anderson Silva? But, you know, yeah, he's up there, but I just think you watch those 3 guys when they were all, John is obviously going to fight at heavyweight now, and if John wins the world...
Is he coming back?
That's what they're saying. But for my money, if John Jones wins the world title at heavyweight, he's the best to ever do it. It's not even close. Because you look at his resume at light heavyweight, the fact that he's never lost. Well, yeah, he has, but not really.
He hasn't.
He hasn't. But lost. Like, you know, the people he beat, the run he had. Yeah. You know, the guy's like
if he
he's
comes
up there.
back and does it again.
If he comes back, like now they're talking about in like later this year potentially fights Stipe. If he fights Stipe, and then when Francis is healthy or available, beats Francis and wins the world title, he's the best to ever do it.
Love to see
By a
John
mile.
Jones, Francis Ngannou.
That'd be a
What
sick
a
fight.
war that would be.
It's a rough fight for John, but I think he could.
It's a
if anyone
rough
could
fight
do
for
it-
both of them.
Yeah,
It's a
if
rough
anyone
fight
could
for
do it,
both
he
of
could
them.
do it.
Yeah.
But like that's the thing. If he does that, he's the GOAT. I understand people's point of view that Khabib didn't beat enough world class contenders in his prime now. Like if he'd stuck around now and he beat like Chandler, Oliveira, Ferguson, just a couple of these other people, and had a few more defenses, and kind of went on a bit more of a run. It'd be pretty hard.
But we'd always
pressed.
be saying
No,
that, man.
It'd be pretty hard pressed to find a
I
better.
feel robbed that we never got Charles Oliveira Khabib, because that would have just been
That'd be a sick fight.
beautiful to watch.
But for my money, I mean, my first option is going to be Mighty Mouse, just based on what he could do in there.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, he was so.
who can suplex someone into an armbar?
Yeah.
Who does that in a world
Yeah.
title fight? You know what the crazy part is about that fight? He was literally streaming on Twitch, playing video games. Didn't shut his stream down. Was like, to the people watching, just said, "I'm gonna be right back. I'm just gonna go defend my world title." Went there, smoked Ray Borg, came back, kept streaming.
Can you pull that up, please?
Kept streaming on Twitch.
Mighty Mouse defends world title suplex.
So imagine that. You are going to go, you're walking out to defend your world title. It's high stakes. Like if you lose,
That
you're
is
losing your belt.
hilarious.
You're fighting a dude who's on a run, who's an absolute gun. You pull out a submission that
What?
is so filthy that
Suplex. SUPLEX.
that's so filthy that we've never seen before. Like anyone even attempt something like that. And then you do that, get your belt, gap it, and then go back to streaming video
And
games.
find the Mighty Mouse one.
It's an insane concept. Like that should show you how comfortable that dude is in there and how good he
Yeah.
is that he could just do that.
This is the one? Yeah, we go. Let's see it. So this, just pause for a sec. So this happened while he was streaming on Twitch.
Yeah.
He's gone into a world title fight and pulls this off.
Smoked a contender and comes back and keeps streaming.
Can we play it, please, Jan?
Like, look, already grabs the arm. The pathway was there.
Oh my god!
Like even at this point, as soon as the leg comes over here, that's a wrap.
Wow.
That's a wrap. He knew he already had him done there. That is so hard to pull off.
My mind wouldn't even conceive of
'Cause-
doing something like that.
As he elevates him up, he's already got to be thinking not just about grabbing the arm, he's got to be thinking about securing the position, having the leg over him, and then finishing the submission in itself. And also he's factoring in his possible reactions to the armbar happening. Ray Borg could have done a hitchhiker, started thumb down, trying to roll out. Maybe he's going to...
Yeah, but off of a suplex, I mean,
it'd
that
be
would
very
be
hard to do.
yeah.
But you could tell that Demetrius factored all that in and thought about that and took everything off the table because he took him to the fence. He suplexed him near the fence. And then sat into the armbar and finished it that way, knowing that it's a wrap. He's taken everything off the table.
Listen, I have one more question for you and we've got to get out of here. What's with the the Mario tattoo, rather?
Look, we're all young.
Mm-hmm.
We're all 16 once. So I was like 16. I was at a house party and was drinking and running amok as you do, and there's
For
a
people
guy,
unaware, actually, can we pull up your Instagram,
there's a guy there.
please? I'm sure we can find a photo of you with the Mario tattoo. Just go and see if you can find it. It's on his right shoulder. I think that one there, under the top left.
Yeah. So we're at a house party
Yeah.
and just, loving life.
Oh no, wrong side.
And this guy is there and he's like, whose house it was. And he's like, yeah, does anyone want a tattoo? And I was like, yeah, go on then. So, I was drinking.
Is this here in Oz?
Yep.
Yeah.
I was drinking and I was like, yeah, so I ended up getting a tattoo. And at the time, I didn't even know what I got because I was so far out of it. I woke up the next morning and I was like, I think I got a tattoo last night. And then I was like dreading taking my shirt off to see what was on my arm. Look down and there's just this like sick Mario tattoo. That like, and it could have been so much worse. Like think of what potentially could have been put on my body.
Yeah.
But it turned, in hindsight though, it wasn't like just some random dude. The dude actually was like a tattoo artist and owns a tattoo shop.
That's hilarious.
So, like,
you just got drunk at a party.
I got like a tattoo from someone.
You show us the take off your jumper. Oh, is it there?
Where I'm like sitting on the cage.
The black and white one.
Yeah, you can kind of see it there.
Oh my God, that is so funny.
It's a massive, like, detailed Mario
It's
tattoo.
full on. It's big as well. It's not like some tiny little like it's not that you're getting fucking Super Mario in your arm.
100%. So yeah, I like, and that's woke up the next day and realized I had a Mario tattoo.
How'd your parents react?
No, not well.
Yeah, I bet.
Being South African, my parents are, they weren't too happy either. So
Yeah.
There's 2 times in my life where, so like that I can distinctly think of where it was those moments where it was like, it wasn't even like the fact that they were upset. You just knew you disappointed them.
Yeah.
It's that one. And around about the same time period, it was like 16, 17, I allegedly joyrided a cop car and got arrested. Didn't get into like too much trouble because I was fortunate that I was under 18 and there's a few other factors at play. And I was, like the town I was living in was like a smaller town.
In a hypothetical world, if I was to joyride a cop car, how would I go about that? Hypothetically speaking, of course.
You'd want to make sure that the said officers whose car it is are occupied with something else at the time, so that but it has to be something that demands them pulling up in the car, jumping out of the car, and not actually, not like casually getting out of the car and walking over and doing their
something
thing.
With urgency.
Yeah, something with urgency. And then, obviously then the car's just going to be there and the keys allegedly are going to be in the ignition and it's going to demand for you the opportunity to go out there and do something like
funny.
that.
Listen, man. Sorry, Mum and Dad.
Yeah, Mum and Dad still, I don't think they're going to ever let me sort of live that down. Obviously, kids don't steal police cars, but if you are going to do it, just make sure that your parents don't find out, I guess.
Listen, your fight's coming up July 16th. You've got Mohammod Alavi, sorry. Apologies to Mohammed. Any final messages on that note? Would you like to send him a love letter?
Basically, yeah, Mohammed, let's put on a show.
That's him right there, by the way, that camera.
Yeah.
This one here.
Oh, he's that one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's even better. Well, Mohammed, you said no one wanted to fight you. It was always going to be me that was going to step up. So, yeah, let's go do it. Let's go show everyone why we're the top featherweights in the country and let's go see who deserves to fight for this featherweight title.
You love to see it. Guys, Lockjaw MMA on Instagram, Fight Talk Down Under on YouTube. Listen to the podcast for more detailed versions of your fight stories. I know you vlog a little bit on YouTube. You're still going to be doing that?
Yeah, so I'm actually in the process at the moment with a friend of mine who's going to actually be helping me like put all that stuff together, and he's going to do the editing side of things and throw all that together. So
I love it.
We're going to be generating some content. It's going to be the #1 YouTube page from a freestyle fighter, not that other dude, Alex Volkanovski. We don't care about his YouTube. Cooking with Volk,
the bubbler guy?
Yeah. We don't need more of that. Just focus on what we're doing here. Lockjaw MMA.
Alex, I'm joking. I love you. I have mad respect for you.
No, he's got good content. And yeah, if you ever have the opportunity to have that dude cook for you, take it.
Hey, I'm here. All right, guys, we've got to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, subscribing. Justin, I really appreciate you coming out. It's awesome talking to you. Probably one of the most natural, free-flowing conversations I've had in a while.
I'm professional at these things.
Yes.
That's what I do.
It's always fun talking to other podcasters. All right, and I think we'll leave it there. That's it, guys.